travelers. This is going to be a fall equinox open reading, okay? In 3 days, we're going into fall. And I know that yesterday it was kind of odd to me. It got dark like about 7:30, which was really strange because normally, we're looking at roughly maybe 8:30. And so I just kind of took note. I was, God, it got dark kind of early. And so I did not realize that we were 3 days away. It's raining from the fall equinox. Now, there's a lot happening astrologically. So we are in retrograde season. And for those of you who don't know what that is, retrograde, a planet is said to be in retrograde when it appears to be traveling backward through the sky from our standpoint of being on Earth. It's a trick of the eye, right? That's due to the rotation and the wobble and the axis and all of that stuff. So what do we have? We have Mercury in retrograde. Uranus is in retrograde. Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Neptune are all in retrograde. So that is 6 out of the quote-unquote 10 planets. We call the sun and the moon planets, but they really aren't. They're known as the luminaries, but we count them as planets. We have also Mars and Gemini, and that's going to be a pretty long transit. Mars and Gemini can be like angry words or, sped up communications, even though Mercury's in retrograde, which also rules communication. Mercury rules Gemini, so it's kind of this weird energy that's happening here. I know I'm heavily ruled by Mercury, and so I've been having trouble remembering things, formulating sentences, talking to people, and it's just a very, very strange kind of an energy, and it's like has this speed and heat behind it. We are coming up on another new moon. So this will be the second new moon in Virgo in a month. Okay, we had the first one on the 27th of August. The new moon in Virgo that's coming up will be the 25th of September. So 2 days after we have our fall equinox. And we have this energy that's pinging off of the Virgo Pisces axis because we had a full moon in Pisces on the 10th of September. And I think Jessica Adams was talking about that's the health axis and unseen things. So she and I have been discussing over on Twitter the new COVID strain called BJ1 that's kind of taken off. And I don't know what other people do, but I have going back and looking over pretty much all of the pandemics throughout history. Mars has always been a factor. It's typically always been in some kind of air sign. Gemini rules the lungs, so this is respiratory. So we may be looking this fall, going into winter, probably into 2023, a new outbreak of COVID. I mean, it's just here, and it's something we're going to have to learn to kind of live with, unfortunately. So over in Europe, many people are going to be, Vlad has cut off the oil, so a lot of people are going to be struggling with maybe trying to keep their heat on. People are going to be spending more time indoors if they can. We've lost the Queen. There's a new government seated in England. There are, earthquakes and hurricanes and floods, and that's that Piscean energy over on the other side, because Pisces and Neptune rule water, oceans, lakes, bodies of water, rain, that kind of a thing, storms. He's been known to cause earthquakes and tidal waves, so that kind of a thing. And then here in America, we are coming up on, for many of our states, we're coming up on gubernatorial elections. And so, I really, really, really don't know if Beto is going to win this. I haven't heard back from his, those of you who've been following me on Twitter know I've been chasing him down for his birth time. I haven't heard back from his assistant, so there's nothing that I can look at. And I've been looking at the chart of Texas and putting the transits over it, and I really don't Texas is a Capricorn, just as America is. So I really don't see a change in governmental rule here. I just don't, but it doesn't mean it won't happen. And so there's a lot happening. And then in October, where's my date here? We have a partial solar eclipse on the 25th of October at 2 Scorpio. And Scorpio's a money planet, a money sign, and this is like other people's money. So this could be not necessarily banks, but maybe you've got a loan out with a mortgage company or whatever. Here in America, we know that the interest rates keep going up, but the prices aren't coming down as they say it's supposed to. So, there's a lot happening as we move into 2023. So we're just going to open the cards to see what messages, if any, applies to any of this stuff. If you are new to my channel, my style of reading and open reading is not for any specific necessarily time or specific sign. It's just to see the energy, what's going to be, possibly coming in for us starting these next few days with the fall equinox. What may we need to be aware of or watch out for or need to hear. So I have with me the Radiant White deck. I have with me the La Vida Sibilas, and I'm not sure exactly what do you call it? Oracle card I'll be wrapping the reading up with, okay? So let me go ahead and turn the camera around. Man, I went to the dentist yesterday. They had a new hygienist. I don't like that lady. She's like, let me know if I'm hurting you. Well, she numbed my mouth up. Boy, when she got through, by the time that stuff wore off, I was like, oh my God. So, anyway, I'm going to make sure I make a note with her that maybe she won't stick around long. She's like the Dr. Mengele of teeth cleaning. Bad. My mouth is still sore. All right, here we go. We're going to do 9 cards. Just to see what possible energy will be coming forth. And typically I like to give the open readings a 2-week time frame. A lot can happen in 2 weeks. Situations can change. People that you're dealing with, can change their mind. So what do we have here? We have the Queen of Pentacles. Okay. Let me see if I can get that down for you. Let's cut the cards. Hopefully you can see her. Oh, well. The Queen of Swords. Wow. The King of Pentacles. I think this is a legal issue. Next row. 4 of Wands. The Strength card. It's interesting. Wow. The Wheel of Fortune. Okay. Last row. 8 of Wands. So now I have 2 8s. I have 3 court cards. Judgment. Well, like I said, I think that's a legal issue, even though justice hasn't come out. To me, sometimes she represents the idea of justice. Last card, Page of Pentacles. What is the energy over the entire spread? Well, it is the Hermit. This is the quality. Okay. And I'll explain that in a second. So, it is always important when I have repeater numbers. So I've got the 2 8s. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4 court cards. So we can say that there are, at the very least, 3 people involved. And that, again, is kind of backed up here. We see the 3 people there, the 2 adults and the child. This can sometimes represent a young child, okay, up to the age of, I want to say 18, perhaps maybe 21. I have 1, 2, 3 pentacles, 2 wands, a sword, and then I have 3 court cards. I'm sorry, 3 major arcana. Now, the major arcana are typically our spiritual lessons, okay? And one card holds more sway than all of these, which are known as pip cards, put together, okay? The fact to me that both the Wheel of Fortune and Judgment have made an appearance is talking about something big, all right? A change, most definitely. Now, the way that the court cards, the way that I read them, yes, they do represent people in the traditional sense, but they can also represent 2 different aspects of yourself, your sign and what you do, vice versa. They can represent 2 different people, okay? They can represent a person and a situation. And what I mean by that is we have this King of Pentacles here who could be an earth sign male, but he could also be a banker or an accountant or some kind of loan broker, a businessman of some sort. But it can also be an indication of the type of energy that you're going to need to embody to move through this particular situation. So even if you are female, you can embody the energy of the king. And if you are male or identify with the male role, you can still be presented as the queen energy. That's just a more receptive energy. This is a more outward, forward-facing energy. He and she, these 3 people are the airy parts of their particular suits. She is the airy part of earth. She is the airy part of air. And he, as well, is the airy part of earth. So when I say the airy part, what I mean is each king or queen start out as a page, right? A child. Then we get some experience under our belts. We become knights. All right. But then once we become kings and queens, that means that we have the mental capacity to formulate plans, to talk to people about things, to think our way through. So that is the airy part. Okay. I'm trying to make sure that you get all the cards in the frame. There we go. So I just explained to you how these three things can come out. And what I feel, I have this Queen of Swords between these 2. So the first thing I said was, to me, this kind of represents maybe like a legal issue, if not necessarily a divorce or a separation perhaps, but this could also be a contractual issue where 2 people are trying to come together, okay? Either way, it implies that there is some kind of legalities, in a sense, behind this. Contracts, written, signed, agreed upon. The whole energy or quality of this reading is the Hermit. It represents the sign of Virgo, and Virgo is the sign of work, service, and duty, not only to others but to yourself. There are 24 hours in a day. Do you have enough time do you spend 8 hours working, playing, and or sleeping? Are you eating right? Are you taking vitamins? Are you exercising? Are you meditating? Are you taking care of yourself so that you can get out there and do whatever it is you need to do? It is also, in a sense, about the details of something. But the fact that it represents also the planet Mercury, and so in a way, the idea that Mercury is in retrograde, which may be affecting many different areas of your life at the moment, there's a slowdown, there's a stillness, there's a quality. Even though I said to you at the beginning, that Mars and Gemini has this kind of urgent energy in it, we still have this idea of a pause. It's a 9. And 9s represent a focus on completion of events. In other words, you've gotten all the way, you worked your way up from the Magician all the way to the Hermit. You've done all of this stuff. Now, before you step here, before things change, okay, and see, we have 8, 9, and then 10. So before things change, it's time for you to stop and reflect over all that has come before. So sometimes the Hermit card is about study, going back over, learning things, immersing yourself, getting a bit more information. It is also about the ability to, once you gather that information, to step out and come back and share whatever you know with people. It can be this idea of isolation. It could be this idea that you are used to being alone and you do well for it by yourself, okay? We don't always need necessarily other people in our sphere to be happy or to feel whole and complete. Now, but at the moment, things are frozen, okay? And we're being asked to take a moment to, if we feel we're in the dark, to kind of go back over. See, it's holding the, actually there's the star in this particular lantern, to go back over, and maybe this is go over and look at your hopes and dreams or your aspirations, whatever it is that you've got going on. So I do not feel that this is two different aspects of a person, or even three different aspects. I feel that these are three completely different, separate people. So she, the Queen of Pentacles, would also be someone who might be an accountant. She's definitely an earth sign, so we're looking at Virgo, Capricorn, and or Taurus. She may be a business owner. She may be an accountant. She herself may be a banker or a loan broker or whatnot. She may be, in a sense, wealthy or at least financially secure. She's practical. She's grounded. She may do something with working for the environment or with animals and things like that, taking care of nature. But separating these two individuals is this Queen of Swords. Now, the Queen of Swords is, I think she gets a bad rep in the card because she's basically known as the divorcee, and she's considered to be a bitter, spiteful person. I don't think that's always true. I think that the Queen of Swords is, not to say that maybe some of those things might not apply, but I think in terms of embodying the energy, the Queen of Swords is someone who's objective. She has a very, very clear view of vision, can see ahead. If you notice, you see the birch, and she's above the clouds, so she's got a clear view of whatever is coming ahead. She is also inviting in the truth. So I've seen her show up as lawyers, counselors, mediators, but she can also be a judge even. She can be a police officer, a soldier, a dentist, a surgeon, a chef, a writer, an editor, a scientist, a researcher. So any place where sharp tools and or keen intellect is needed to get the job done. But I feel that she is between these two people because there's some type of mediation perhaps that needs to be done across this row. So it's past, present, future, interplay of the cards. We have the Four of Wands, and the Four of Wands is this idea about celebrations. It is about stable foundations. This is about having come from the Ace of Swords to the Three, and now you've arrived at a place that you've got something kind of solid under your belt, and this is something you should celebrate. As you can see, we have the couple there together, and they are like waving and inviting. So sometimes this can be the idea of a relationship having a deeper commitment. So it's not the marriage card. I like to call it the shacking up card if this is a romantic issue, which I kind of don't think it is, because there are necessarily no indications of that in here, but it doesn't mean that's not true. And so if this is from a business standpoint, this could be the idea of maybe that legal issue actually going through, that commitment. That's what contracts are. Once you sign on the dotted line, you're committed, right? And then we have this Strength card, which is interesting. So to me, this is kind of a timing. So for some of you, this may go back to the month of August. It is an 8. It can represent the summertime. We know we're now about to go into the fall. But it also says to me that this has been something in which perhaps someone has had to conquer their fears. Okay? And the Strength card says that if you are kind and gentle and patient, you can most definitely tackle any obstacles that may come up. So sometimes 8s are obstacles. Okay? And then we move over here to the Wheel of Fortune. Represented in the card, we have the nodes. We have Leo and Aquarius. creative projects and self-actualization. We also have Taurus and Scorpio, which is where the nodes are now. We have North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. So this is all that you own, earn, or owe. This is monies that you have in conjunction with other partners or other people. Okay? But something's about to change here. We see it. It's big, and it's a 10. And 10s always indicate a change, the end of a cycle. It could even be a roundabout way of talking about the end of the summer season as a timing and moving into the fall. We come down to the final row here, and we have the Eight of Wands. Now, the Eight of Wands is sometimes called the arrows of love, okay? But I think that's, yeah, that's true, but there's more to this particular card than that. Basically, 8s are karmic numbers, and they say that if a situation has been stuck, it will now be moving. We see that here, okay? If the energy's been stagnant, it's going to move. But the Eight of Wands comes in to say not only is it going to be moving, but it's going to move really, really fast. So this could be about travel, usually in conjunction with business. It is about news and messages coming in, and the energy of it says that once things change, there's going to be a rapid movement. And so all you can do is kind of hang on, okay? Because a lot of change is coming. But then we arrive at the Judgment card. Now, the Judgment card is interesting because I think from the imagery, it speaks about, you know, looking over your life to decide what's going to happen at the end, right? But we're still in the here and now. So Judgment is about discernment. It is about using your objective skills, your analytical, critical thinking, logical skills to form a judgment about something. Okay? All right? So it also will sometimes say that it is always best to handle your own affairs. I do feel that for some of you, there's some announcement or news coming as if, in a sense, help may be on the way. But it's talking about a drastic change of life, something really, really changing, being called to a new life. Okay? This is quite an interesting spread. And then on the backside, it can even be a legal issue. And on the backside, what we are looking at is a message. Now, even though I said to you that court cards represent people, for me, pages always simply represent news. This could be news of a financial nature. It could be news, let's say you've applied for your PhD program and you are waiting to know if you've been accepted. Okay? This can be the idea that you have perhaps applied for promotion or a change of position, and with that it's going to come new skills and abilities that you're going to have to learn. This is simply news. Okay? Now, I can't look at these cards because they are really people. Okay? In this spread, that is the energy. These are persons. These are not situations. These are persons. And that leaves me just these two cards as they relate to the three major arcana cards. I think what I find to be most interesting is that at some point past, for some of you, you not only went from a 4, but you quite rapidly gained 4 additional wands. Now, the wands typically will speak to work and career, but for me, it is about passion, focus, determination, and getting out there and doing whatever it is that you need to do or that you want to do. There's also this idea of something coming back around, or the idea that it's been going back and forth. She has the Lamanaskate over her head. Okay, and in a sense, it kind of has a connection with the Magician, in the sense that this is about focused will, not allowing the fear to get a hold of you. So focus your energies in a calm manner. Approach whatever the obstacle or problem is in a calm, logical, rational manner, and then you can overcome it. Okay, so that's how that is coming across to me. So let me grab my book. The first thing we need to know about 2/8 say you will receive news that affects the relationship. Okay, that's one. And the other meaning of 2/8, remember I said to you that it's always important when there are additional repeater numbers here. So the other meaning of the 2/8 implies that there is a slight concern in regards to a new romance, relationship, or partnership. So remember now, I said that I don't necessarily see this as a romantic relationship, but that's, perhaps not true. So if it's not that, then we're talking about some type of relationship or partnership. And the fact that judgment breaks down to a 2, okay, talks about some type of partnership. But also, 2s always bring a choice, okay? There's a decision that has to be made here. This is why I think judgment has presented itself. Okay, there's a choice, a crossroads, an option, a decision, an opposition, you being opposed within yourself about something, should I or shouldn't I, or perhaps someone actively opposing whatever it is you want to do. We shall see. So let's get to the 4 of Wands to see if it tells us anything. Well, it doesn't really next to these cards, but there's an influence here with the Hermit card. It tells of someone who's very independent and creative and who possesses the ability of self-expression. That's all of that Leo energy coming out. It denotes a decidedly individual person with the strong ability of self-expression, who is very creative when alone, and who is a very individual person. So in other words, you're out there doing your own thing, okay? And nobody's doing it like you. All right, and that's always a good thing. So now let's move over to the 8 of Wands, because these are really the only 2 cards I can look at. I can't look at this because it technically represents a person. Okay, tells me nothing. This card or this card next to this one or this one. Okay. If a situation has been stagnant for some time, you may be surprised by a rapid progression towards a conclusion. If you have been waiting for a letter or a phone call or an email, you will not have to wait much longer. It tells that you are aware of your desires and should take the initiative to realize them. It's a most positive time to make changes. It indicates that you may be faced with obstacles and hindrances on all sides. It suggests that you may be facing inner turmoil, struggles, and confusion, but you need to remain alert and adaptable in order to see your way through at this time. Okay? It tells you that your goals are within reach. It even tells you to take control and balance your budget. Okay? And so that is what we are dealing with. So let me give you a bit of information here on this Page of Pentacles. And the page says, it can be an indication of someone giving you good news that may change your life in a positive manner. It may be signifying that a meeting with a positive person will bring about solidarity and a new plan of how to go about things productively. It speaks to a positive and prosperous alliance. Changes for the better are coming into your life, and these changes will be brought about by someone who genuinely cares about you and your life. Good news and information will soon be received. It implies a focus on study and research. So if you've recently been studying for an examination, this card tells you that the results will be favorable. It speaks to a period of study that requires self-discipline and determination. It may be telling of a golden opportunity to be seized upon. And that's all it says. That's it. So I'm not quite exactly sure what is happening here for you. But if I had to pick one card, it's going to be this Judgment card. Because there's a decision that's going to be coming up for some of you. We can even see the knighting here. Maybe this particular queen switches direction in a hurry. Okay? And maybe this guy has something he wants to share. Okay? Either way, all right, I'm going to pull cards on this queen as well. The Judgment card is, to me, what is the most important. First, let's start with the Queen of Swords, right in the center here. Because, as I said, I've seen her sometimes, I don't know if my cards are upside down or what. I've seen her sometimes be an indication of, what do you call it? Like some kind of legal counselor, you know, maybe a judge. Let's see here. Bambino. Allegrezzi al cuore. Oh wow, he's shown up again. The Mercante, also the queen, the king of diamonds. So another like king of pentacles here. New conditions. Bambino is talking about something that has not yet necessarily formulated itself, with the potential for happiness of the heart with this particular businessman, Mercante. The Sibilas are extremely specific when it comes to the different types of happiness. This is not just a celebration, perhaps, of a marriage or a relationship, but it can be a good business partnership. But these are some new conditions that have come in. Okay? This is what the Bambino is saying. Not quite formulated yet, but the possibilities are there. The Judgment card. Well, now, the Dilettante has come out. That's interesting. I want you to look at this. 3 people. 3 people. 3 people. 3 people. So indeed, this involves people, not just you and someone else. The Prigione. Wow. And the Lamante, but she came reversed. Female. Okay. So, this Judgment card is, if not the choice, then the idea that perhaps maybe someone else may interfere with this. This is quite interesting here. The Dilettante speak to this idea of plurality as well. It's known as the Lunatic card, okay? And basically, it can describe someone who believes in false doctrines and ideas that will ultimately cause their downfall, or indicate someone is being swayed by other equally deluded people. Hence the concept of plurality here, the 3 people. It can sometimes be associated with large gatherings where trouble can be expected. So this could be things like rallies and protest. It can indicate hallucinations, contradictions, illusions of grandeur, and self-exaltation. It can represent someone with a massive ego. But generally, it describes setbacks, delays, accidents, recklessness, disorganization, opposition, remember I was talking about that, mutually exclusive beliefs, precarious conditions, and transitory states. It can herald complications of all kinds and the worsening of a situation, as well as arguments and confusion. It heralds problems and troubles on all fronts, grave arguments and falling out with clients, partners, and or family members. It can also indicate someone who lacks self-discipline and persistence. It can be an indication of illegal and confusing situations. Well, there we have it. Signed up with the Prigione. Now, the Prigione is an interesting card as well. Just in general, it is the idea of someone being in a position where they can't move. Whether this is through their own choosing, a situation they've created where they're locked in, or if they just don't have the strength to do that. Okay? Let me give you the Prigione. Oh, wow. And those are the 2 9s. Isn't that interesting? So let me go back because there's something about well, there's an indication here where it is the, along with this card, the 9 of spades. Now, the 9 of clubs is not here, but these 2 cards are. So this can be an indication of someone who is perhaps has a drug addiction, or maybe an alcoholic. And it could be someone who's lying about it. This is not the 9 of hearts, but she's the Queen of Hearts, so to speak. So let me get back over here to the Prigione. It highlights a condition of helplessness and being powerless to change events. Whether this is real or not, or your imagination, is to be not yet foretold. It represents victims and a stumbling block. It indicates a situation of deprivation, isolation, and a lack of support. It acts as a warning, and it warns perhaps of a potential loss of freedom and or of situations of subordination. It indicates serious legal problems and trouble with the police, and perhaps incarceration. It indicates a punishment to be expiated and a difficult commitment that has to be seen through to the very end. Humiliation, debts, and the presence of enemies. Now, it can represent anything that chains you to a situation, a person, or an idea. Whether this is an addiction, a dependency, an abusive relationship, physical subjugation to another, incarceration, or simply being prey to your fears. It can represent a prison or any place that we find unpleasant. Figuratively, it indicates isolation, solitude, and spiritual emptiness. Financially, it can indicate poverty and misery on all levels. In love, it represents someone who is closed-hearted and does not know how to love. Okay? It can indicate a situation that does not change for the better, a blockage from which you cannot free yourself, or someone who is stonewalling you. There we have it. Okay? And then we have the reversed Queen of Hearts. Now, to me, this is not a 4th person. Maybe it might be. But to me, this is simply an indication of the emotions that are going to be associated with this. Okay? Where is she? Hold on. Let me find her. Here she is. It describes, first of all, someone to beware of with an agenda by traits of falseness and self-interest. It says that the person can usually disguise themselves well under the guise of friendliness or even a femme fatale. It says, in love, the woman is unfaithful and or addicted to self-gratification. But if this card represents you, it says that you are either in trouble, depressed, or plotting something untoward that will affect someone else. The only neutral meaning of this card indicates a career person, but it's not next to the scholar. So, to me, this card is an indication of, it says, in business, she will prove to be slanderous and back out of contracts. Well, I don't know what to tell you about that. That's quite interesting. I wasn't expecting that to... and if I'm going to just use this as a... what do you call it? A situational card, I would just simply say that whatever this thing is, it's going to... bring some type of grief and aggravation. Okay? That's what I'm going to say about that. So let's pull a Golden Nostradamus for this to see if he has anything to impart. Here he is. Oh, I didn't realize this was 40 minutes. Way longer than I wanted it to be, but nevertheless, here it is. But I haven't done one of these in a long time. So let's see what Nostradamus has to say about this. A rapid event, but then it looks like it comes to a halt. Now, what this news is, I don't know. Because even if things don't happen the way that we planned or hoped or assumed that they would, that can sometimes be an indication that still may be good news. You may not see it now, but it could probably be the best thing that's ever happened to you. Okay? So let's see. So definitely a change. It was looking all positive here for a minute, but you know. Number 25. Which is interesting. The fish. That Piscean, Virgoan energy that we're talking about. That axis. So let's see here. It says, once you have let gossip fly, these tales you can never again belie. Silence will bring counsel and will not expose you to the attacks of others. Stop often, think, stand still, and reflect quietly. It will lead to the discovery of the right path to be taken. There it is. And so that is what I have for you for the fall equinox, new moon in Virgo reading. I hope that helped. And until next time, oh, by the way, you can purchase a reading. I have several reading packages. If you click on this little eye over there in the corner, it'll take you directly over to the website. So until next time, be well, stay safe, and namaste. Bye.